Felicity for Get Your Rock Out, here with the lovely Chris from Savage. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm also very good, thanks. Have you quite recovered from Hard Rock Hell yet?
Yeah, just about.
No, I mean, it's currently, what day are we on now? Wednesday.
It's now Wednesday, yeah.
Glad I've not got my days wrong. That's always a good sign.
I've got another 10 days before I've got to start doing it all again, so.
That's all right then.
I'll be ready again for that one.
Brilliant. And you've got, you guys played on Sunday at Hard Rock Hell Festival in Wales.
Yeah.
Tell us all about the show. How did you find it? Because, of course, this is a pretty big show for you guys.
Yeah. It's not the biggest show we've ever done, obviously, when we've done, far bigger shows than that, but it was a big show for us because of the fact it was the first time this current lineup of the band have all played together.
Yeah.
And it's also sort of 12 years since the band Savage itself has actually played anywhere. The last show that Savage ever played prior to Hard Rock Hell was back in 2000.
Wow.
Hence why I said we played bigger shows.
Yes. But no, I mean, and so how did you find it? Of course, you've got a new lineup now. There's only 2 of the original members.
That's right.
I mean, did you really enjoy it? Are you feeling positive about the future?
We was all really, really nervous just before we went on, but literally a couple of numbers in, and it was, everybody was sort of feeling good. We all enjoyed it. I think we'll enjoy the next one a lot better. There was obviously a lot of pressure on them, we wanted to make sure that, we delivered the goods as such, not too many bum notes, etc. So yeah, I mean, we enjoyed it, and we're really looking forward to the next one. The things after that is trying to get more of the damn things.
It's always the way.
This time of year now, don't we?
Yeah, nothing really kind of much happens around this kind of time. It's really
no, it all kicks off again in summer. I mean, we're supposed to be doing next year Headbangers Open here, I think it is.
Oh, brilliant.
But for that, because it's the 30th anniversary of Loose and Lethal, they want us to play the entire Loose and Lethal album.
Wow.
That's the plan for next year. So we're thinking in terms of sort of celebrate it. We'll do some shows. We'll play the full Loose and Lethal album, plus 1 or 2 other bits and bobs, obviously, to span it out. And then perhaps produce it as a live album.
Oh, fantastic. So already you're thinking this far ahead with exciting sound.
Yes, because after that it'll be another studio album. Me and Andy have already started talking about, we'll probably look to start writing stuff for a new album, perhaps April or so next year. But the concentration next year will be on playing shows, putting together the live album. Hopefully we'd like to try and do a double live album, just like the good old days, like when we grew up and listened to things like Stranger in the Night and Live and Dangerous and all those sorts of records from back then. So we'll probably do it as a double live CD, and then obviously, hopefully, a double live gatefold sleeve album, which would be awesome. Fantastic. Just reminds us back of the days when we were teenagers, sat in bedroom listening to it.
Definitely. And what kind of prompted the decision to reform, to do this again, and to kind of...
Actually, the catalyst was... the reality is, there was no official split up again or anything like that. After we did the last album, Extreme Machine, back in 2000, the plan was to do another one. But things just seemed to keep getting in the way. There was a lot of deaths within the family, and obviously because of the fact it's almost a family affair, because the link between me and Andy and what have you, it sort of impacts on everybody. So there were deaths, divorces, births, you name it, we had it in that period of time, and it wasn't until about 2009 when things started to cool down a little bit, or a little bit of respite from all the personal crap that was going off. And it was more Mark who sort of pushed it and says, look, because Mark had played in the band when we did the Extreme Machine album anyway. And he said, look, it's time we did this next album that we've been threatening to do for the last 9 years. And we said, now's about the right time. We'd already discussed a long time before that about Christian being in the band. We'd actually talked about Christian being in the band long before Eddie Van Halen got his son in Van Halen. And because Christian's had his own bands for years, he's sort of he was brought up in this atmosphere, and it's sort of all my fault that he's into heavy metal and he's had his own heavy metal bands and he's a guitar player and all the rest of it. So yeah, we decided that we just made it a bit easy, and he was up for it. So we just started writing songs, and within about a year, probably 14 months, we'd written 16 songs. We then demoed all 16, which was to do it. So we actually basically did it like we did our very first albums. Everything had been demoed long before we did Loose and Lethal in the studio. So we demoed everything, got a feel for how it sounded, made a few changes here and there, and then went back in studio and recorded the entire album. Mark then went away and mixed it on his own. Fetched us in there and again when he'd done a mix and say, what do you think to this? And we'd all pass our comments, and he'd then go away and fiddle with it a little bit to suit what everybody had said. And there we were. So the album was actually finished and ready to go early 2011, would you believe?
Wow.
Then we had problems trying to get somebody to do artwork for it. The guy that was going to do it started it and then backed out. Then we got other people involved. What they did, we just weren't happy about. We eventually went back to got the guy that did it to do it again, but I wasn't happy with it. I think it's one of the worst pieces of artwork I've ever seen in my life. And as an album sleeve, it's not the greatest, but it was a case of we were just sick of trying to get it out and sick of waiting. It had been finished that long, and we wanted to get it out and get it out there, that we just went with it as it was. Just in case, let's just get the damn thing out.
Wow.
It's been sat on it a year. Let's go. So yeah, it's been finished since 2011. But it wasn't until this year that it got released.
So incredible. And kind of reactions-wise, reviews. I've seen a load of positive reviews.
The review we've had in excess of over 80 odd reviews worldwide, and I would say, with the exception of about 4 or 5, most have been from good to great. As you can imagine, the ones that were not so good tend to be Germany.
Oh, okay.
The reason being is Germany is so far behind everyone. It's always been 20 years behind us in musical, TV and film taste. So I think they've still got to catch up. I don't think they've got to grunge yet, to be honest. So they're very, very... They just want to hear Loose and Lethal again. All they're interested in is what happened 30 years ago. I'm surprised that any new bands actually get to tour there. So they were not 100% happy with it. Some were, some weren't.
Yeah.
But to the most part, like I say, most of the reviews worldwide have been pretty good. The exceptional ones have been in English-speaking countries, UK, America, Canada. Their English is the first language, Australia. It's gone down a storm.
Oh, fantastic. And did you expect it to be kind of so universally popular when you released it?
I think we felt we'd got a good album when we'd done it, but we always feel we've got a good album when we've done them.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one to call. The thing is about Savage, we never did the same album twice.
Yeah.
That is blatantly obvious, and the reason we've done it that way is because one of our big influences, which were Queen, were very much that sort of band as well. It was never really the same album twice. They had a distinct sound, but they didn't necessarily keep repeating themselves.
Yeah.
And that's how we've been, but it's not always been commercially acceptable for us to keep doing that. I don't know, but this time we actually went back, especially Andy, and sort of started listening to everything that we used to listen to all those years ago before we did Loose and Lethal. So I think as an album, it's almost like, for me, it's like the stuff that we used to listen to before we did Loose and Lethal, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, completely.
It's sort of that Deep Purple-ish, Led Zeppelin-ish, back mid to late 70s thing that we was listening to back then. Hopefully maybe the next album will move forward a little bit and get a little bit closer to Loose and Lethal. I don't know. It all depends. As I say, each album's different, and we've tried to predict what we're going to do next album, and not been very successful in predicting what we do at all. So it's a case of whatever comes out is what we work with.
Yeah. And like
no sort of preconceived notion, or there is certainly no big powwow meeting before and say, right, this album we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do one like this and one like this and one like... We don't do that. If it comes out and it passes the quality test of the fact the entire band likes it and works on it and we finish it as a song, then that is literally the quality control. There's no preconceived notion of, oh, we must do one that sounds like Ain't No Fit Place, or we must do another Let It Loose, or we must do another one that sounds like this. We just, whatever comes out is what it is. And we just hope that it's, people like it.
And so songwriting-wise, obviously, kind of with the new lineup, who does what? Are you all just as involved, or is it kind of more one or two?
It's pretty much like it always was. The main songwriters in Savage have always been myself and Andy.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much a 90-10 split, depending on which way you want to look at it. Generally speaking, it's a 90-10 split. Andy comes up with the riffs and I do the melodies and lyrics and we put them together.
Yeah.
But 10% of them I write the riffs for, and 10% of them he comes up with lyrics for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we do cross over into each other's areas.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, Andy has the riff, and then we work on it together as a band, thrash it out. Odd little musical ideas, again, they get thrown in from everybody else, but it's just like key changes and things like that, and arrangements and the way we do it. And then I pretty much come up with the melodies and lyrics, and then the final arrangement is then sort of from there, depending on, what the melody-wise. So generally speaking, Andy will do the riff, we'll throw something down in the rehearsal room, just on a simple little 2-track recorder. Back in the old days, it was a cassette player, these days, the little DAT machines. Then I'll take it away and I'll probably put it onto a CD and stick it in CD player in the car and drive around with it on all day long until a lyric comes to mind. Daft as it sounds, this is a little funny story for you. The chorus to Sons of Malice came while I was sat waiting as the car park for a girlfriend to come out.
Seriously?
Seriously, yes. I was just sat there and it was humming away to myself, and it just came together as as the Spite and Callous, Sons of Malice, and that's just how it happens. And that's generally how it happens. The little flashes of inspiration.
Wow.
At certain times, especially in places we don't expect it. Hence why I always carry a little notebook with me.
Ah, very clever.
But sometimes I come up with a riff, and then Andy sort of throws words in as well.
So wonderful. And do you reckon that the others are kind of going to get more involved as the band progresses, or do you think?
Well, Christian did come up with one for this album. The Look at Yourself started off as Christian's riff. The intro and the main riff was Christian's, and then me and Andy threw into it. Mark does play guitar as well, and has had other bands and writes his own stuff. And I've said to them both, look, start contributing. It makes it a bit easier on me and Andy.
Yeah.
Me and Andy haven't got to sit there and think, right, we've now got to come up with 16 songs to pick the best 12 to put next album. We'd like everybody to be involved. But Mark really is an exceptional engineer. That's his specialty. Not only he started out as a drummer. In his later career, he became a guitar player and a singer, fronting his own band. So, and then a recording engineer. And now it sort of does a bit of everything. So it's sort of a good all-rounder.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're thinking something we've never done before was actually play the full intro to Ain't No Fit Place in a live situation, because it's string machines and it's 12-string acoustic guitars and harmony guitars on lead guitar. And you just think, well, actually, how are we going to do this? There's not enough of us. So we're looking in terms of next year when we do it as a live album, that Mark will probably play the 12-string as an intro, the two, Andrew and Christian, will do the harmony guitars, and I will do the string machine bit. We'll actually play the entire full intro as the song. For the first time ever. It was never done live before at all, ever. So we're looking in terms of bringing that into the live situation.
Yeah. Wonderful. And you're headed to Belgium in a few days.
Yes.
So tell us what you're going to be doing out there.
Pretty much the same as we did at HRH. Apart from the fact we've got an extra 5 minutes playtime.
Ah, nice.
So we'll be sticking an extra song in there. So pretty much we're probably going to do roughly the same set. There may be a few changes around. There may be obviously a little bit more. Obviously at HRH, after the 9 songs, 6 were off the new album and 3 was the first album. It may be a case of at this one it might be 6 and 4. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to promote this new album and not something that's, 30 years ago, but we were expected to do the stuff from 30 years ago.
Because that's what
we even had a couple of people shouting out for stuff off the other albums at HRH, and it's like, well, I even said, look, we haven't even rehearsed them, so we're not doing them. You can't please everybody. 6 albums there, so, and there's, that's what's strange about it. We have different fans for different albums, if that makes any sense.
Completely, yeah.
Those that like Loose and Lethal might not be big fans of perhaps Holy War's album, but those that love Holy Wars might not be big fans of Extreme Machine and vice versa. And there's people that was one of the things I noticed, one of the reviews, an Italian magazine thought Extreme Machine was the best thing since sliced bread and Sons of Maris was pants.
Wow.
You just can't believe, you just can't please everybody at all.
No.
But if as long as you keep going down the route of doing something different each time, then I suppose that's always going to be the case.
Yeah, definitely.
We'd probably be one of those bands that 100 years from now people will remember because of the fact we were more diverse than everybody else when they keep doing anything over and over again. I mean, I've said this in interviews recently about a lot of the bands. We never really felt part of New of them at all. The reason being was we was at the tail end of it anyway, because when it was all sort of big early 81, we was drummerless, and we spent almost 12 months trying to find a drummer. So we wasn't able to jump in it, even though we'd got the material. So we came in round sort of to later on, but we never felt part of that movement because most of the bands that did that stuff, we just thought, well, that's really not very good. The bands that influenced us were obviously Deep Purple and your Led Zeppelins and your Wishbone Ashes, and then later on it was bands like Judas Priest and Lizzie, UFO, and then obviously in the early 80s came Edward Van Halen, that pretty much shook everything and everybody up. So at that point, Andy was pretty much a cross between Michael Schenker and Edward Van Halen. They were his heroes. My heroes were sort of Freddie Mercury and Phil Lynott. So you can see where all his influences came from at that point. But we never felt part. We were more influenced by old school than the new urban bands. But we still get tired with this, which actually, to be honest, I can see it now. That Loose and Lethal was post-punk, and I suppose it really was. It was a little bit harder edged than most other new urban bands, which tend to be quite. What's the good way of putting it? Well, no, they weren't very good. Most of them we thought were very good. The ones that were very good are still around now. But apart from the point of view of the fact they're around now because they got very big. I'm talking like bands like Iron Maiden, Def Leppard, people like that were actually good and made a success of it. Most of those other bands that were sort of ranked with them at the same time just fizzled out very, very quickly. And now they're all having a little resurgence and, jumping on a sort of old school bandwagon at the moment. But we don't. We don't try and recreate what we did back then. We just do what we do now. What we've always done. We never try to recreate. It is what it is when it is. That's it.
It's a good way of looking at things. It really is. And in the next kind of 6 months or so, where can people expect to see you?
In the next month or so, well, to be honest, there's nothing else lined up after Belgium. We're still promoting the album. We still seem to be doing lots of interviews, and there's still people reviewing the album, even though it's been out 6 months now. We're still trying to push the album and get it released in different territories. It came out in India about a month ago on a brand new record label over there. They've just released it. It's due to be released as a double vinyl album in Germany.
Oh, wow.
As a limited edition in the new year, because the 3 extra songs that we actually recorded are actually going on to that, so it'll be a 16-song album. So that's why it's been released as a double vinyl album, special edition. And we'll just keep promoting it, as I say. We're chasing, trying to get shows. Problem is trying to find places to play.
Yeah.
That's the issue, and because we've been out of it a while, we've got no management, no promoter, no record company backing, because it's all done by ourselves now.
Yeah.
It's just a case of chasing things until we can get on a bill somewhere. That's the plan anyway. The plan is now to get out and play. Especially next year, because we want to do a live album. Unless we play somewhere, we can't do a live album.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that you'll have no problem booking stuff in whatsoever.
So, after Belgium, the next gig at the moment that's lined up is in July next year, which is the Headbangers Open Air Festival in Germany.
Wonderful. And if people want to find out more about you, where should they head over to?
Right. At the moment, we've got a Facebook page and a MySpace page and a Reverb Nation page. But in the next couple of weeks, we will have an official Savage.com site up and running.
Oh, fantastic.
And what we'll probably do is let everybody know through all our contacts like you in the music press, and possibly, wherever possible, we're going to try and sort of do some reciprocal links as well.
Wonderful.
So, for argument's sake, we'll put Get Your Rock Out on the Savage.com site. If Get Your Rock Out, put Savage.com on their site. And we all sort of like promote each other.
Wonderful.
So that will be up and running. I know it's virtually done. It's got a merchandise page. It's even have a little forum chat room in there as well, so you've got to talk to us. So if fans log on and one of us is about, we'll be able to talk to us.
Brilliant. So plenty of places to catch you then, really?
Yes. And if anybody writes to us at any of the Facebook, MySpace, Reverb Nation pages, you will get a response from one of us, because we all take it in turns to run them and look after them. But obviously, we haven't got a big sort of publicity staff or admin staff sat in the back there doing all this stuff, as we do it all for ourselves. So, for argument's sake, if anybody writes to MySpace, it'll generally be me that responds. If anybody writes to Reverb Nation, it'll probably be Mark. And if it's anybody that gets in touch at Facebook, it'll probably be Andy.
Fantastic stuff. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to chat to us today. It has been hugely appreciated. Well done again on the Hard Rock Hell.
Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be running into you guys at some point very soon.
Yeah, well, keep in touch. Oh, I forgot to mention we've got a YouTube site as well.
Oh, even better.
Savage Music UK on YouTube, which has got our videos on and various other bits and bobs that other people add onto it. So we're it's got the Sons of Malice video on there as well. We did a video for Sons of Malice.
If you've not checked that out yet, make sure you head down and do that now.
YouTube, Savage Music UK.